I think filler players in your example can go even further, where it's not a guy that's in and out of the lineup, but it's literally a guy that's practicing the whole time. So, some of these rosters, you can have 30 guys on the roster. You could have 35 guys at some point, even if you're rostering 25 or whatever it is you have to get down to. You still may have an extra 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are just solely there practicing, and there's no way they can even get into the game because they're not on any of the protected lists. But they're paying the bills, and they're obviously out there for practice to try to help develop. And you hang that carrot over their head of next year you're going to be able to move up into a bigger role and whatnot. And I'd be curious to see how many of those kids actually do.
Yeah, and to counter what you do as a parent or as a player in this situation, you got to get into social media. You got to look at the roster. Maybe you see a lineup sheet and you see what their fourth line is. Reach out on social media. Watch their games on tape. Almost every junior team is on Live Barn, or they're on Flow Hockey. They're on Hockey TV, whatever they're using, or maybe they just video their games on YouTube. But watch the games. Figure out who the fourth line is. See how they're being treated. You can see how many guys are on the roster, and see if those guys are getting ice time. See if they're part of it, because it's incumbent on the person paying the money to make sure the product is right. And Mike's point is valid. You cannot expect. There's several leagues that have no oversight from USA Hockey. You really don't have a governing body to turn to with some leagues, and you just got to be careful with that. I'm not saying I wouldn't play in those leagues. I would just know what, buyer beware. Know what you're getting into before you actually do it. So, all right, next topic, trades. Go on, Mike.
Well, I think when it comes to trades, I don't think people actually understand they have more power in the situation than they actually do. But there are plenty of horror stories where, a kid is in 2 or 3 different spots in 1 year, because for whatever reason, either he's valuable enough to acquire more assets, or he's, got some issues off the ice that people think, oh, I'm going to be the one to fix them. And, he realized, nope, let's keep them going, to the next place. And, obviously that's not a great situation from a league perspective or for that individual family and that kid's perspective. But I know that there used to be the Wild West. I think with the USA Hockey guidance and most of the junior leagues and even in some of the other ones, I think they're getting better when it comes to making trades and sending players elsewhere than it was in the past. So you probably have a lot of good examples from when you were doing this in years past. Maybe not as many. I'm living in this world for maybe 10 years. You're living in this world for 30 years. So, it's different.
Yeah, but I've got some recent ones, and some of this is, between the United States and Canada. I tend to see more old school coaches in Canada than I do in the United States. I tend to see more old school coaches that still play by the rules from 1960 and 1970 in their mindset. And that's not, I'm not making a positive or negative statement there. I'm just trying to state what I see. Now, I'll give you one from my family because I'm willing to throw it out there. When my son went to the AJHL as a rookie, coming out, he played 1 year of U18, and then he went to the AJHL. The coach and the general manager sat him down right away and said 2 things right off the bat. If you're looking for money, we'll give you a couple names of teams that may pay you, but we're not paying you. That floored me because I'm coming from what I consider squeaky clean USA Hockey juniors, where pay a player to what that, but that's the underbelly. That's the dark side. I'm not going to blow anybody in on, what programs did or did not do that at the time, but there were teams, and there were teams that had communal cars where there was a team car. All those things are a little iffy. Maybe not so much in Canada because the NCAA isn't, breaking NCAA rules aren't as much of a situation there, especially guys that may have played in the WHL or played in the OHL first, where there was a lot of compensation in ways like that, and it was legal. But in my son's situation, our advice to him, mom and dad, was get up there, work hard, keep your head low. get up there, work hard. So he'd actually started out really good. First 10 games as a defenseman, he was one of the leading scorers on the team. He was doing great. And they met weekly with him. The team had a professionalism to him. I still love this team. This is not a knock on the team. But what happened was they met weekly with the players, and he asked Adam what he thought about his playing time, and Adam said something instead of keeping his mouth shut. And as soon as he said something about playing time, and in fact, I think he brought it up because there was a large showcase, and there was several, prominent D1 schools there that asked, it let Adam know they were coming up and wanted to watch him play. And he got benched in a regular rotation. Okay, there was rookies that were cycling in and out of the lineup, and it was his turn. So it was nothing malicious, but Adam said, "Hey, I'm one of the leading scorers. Why?" And they said, "Okay, we'll take care of the problem." He was traded the next day. Boom, just like that, because it's a business and because it's old school. The mindset isn't, let's work through this and communicate. Hey, look, we gave you a chance. We gave you an opportunity. You questioned the way we do things. Hit the road. And once again, good program, very naive kid. Maybe we gave him a little too much slack to have that to make his own decisions in those cases, but he was down the road the next day. So trades can happen with just a slip of the tongue. And some coaches have very, very small, let's change that. Some coaches have very large egos. And instead of talking about the other anatomy, we'll talk about the ego. And, if you brush them the wrong way, in your innocence, you might be a 17 or 18 or 19-year-old kid. You haven't dealt with these adult topics where, negotiation and communication and how to resolve problems. These guys are masters at it. These guys have dealt with hundreds of players. This may be the first time you're sitting across the table with somebody you have to like build a relationship with and try to work with. And you're not skilled. You just don't have the skills yet. You don't have the skill set. Thought process, Mike.
Well, I think the big distinction there to call out is the fact that you were talking about, a Canadian Junior League and how things are operated there versus the U.S. Because in the U.S., if all of a sudden you get traded on a whim and you say, well, I'm not going to report there, it blows the deal up.